If Zach Whitecloud's hit that knocked Matthew Knies out of the Leafs lineup was legal, then is it time to change the rules? To speak to that, here are Frankie Corrado and Bryan Hayes. Guys, the NHL says a headshot is only illegal if the head is the main point of contact. But the IIHF says any contact to the head at all is illegal. Is it time to shift more towards the international rule, Frankie?
No, it's not, Gino. The NHL rulebook has this right. If you pick someone's head clean, and that's the main point of contact, you will be penalized, and depending on the severity of the hit, there's going to be a suspension. If you go right through the body, just like Zach Whitecloud did, and then you get the head as part of that, that's okay, and I don't mind that. This is the NHL. This is the best league in the world where there's a lot of contact, and guys need to have the capabilities to play hard and throw hits as they see fit, as long as they're within the confines of the rules. Now, we're going to get into a situation where if you want to talk about making a rule change based on a clean hit, I think that's crazy. It's crazy to talk about that right now. That hit from Zach Whitecloud last night meets all the parameters of a clean, hard hockey hit. Anyone who has played the game and has been in those situations, either received or given one of those hits, can tell you that there's no problem with that, and we don't need to soften the rule book to the point where now we're penalizing every time someone's head gets hit, even if it's a clean hit.
Yeah, I think there's multiple layers to this, Gino. I think ultimately, if this is going to be grandfathered out of the game or abruptly taken out, to your point, it becomes a IIHF rulebook. I think the Players Association would have to be the one that would drive that. That players would say, we concern ourselves with the way this is going, or head contact in the game. And where science is now, where medicine is now, what we know about head contact and head trauma today compared to where it was 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago clearly is different. There's also a legalese angle to that in terms of the way former players have, approached this topic with the league. But ultimately, I think the fans love contact in the sport, and it is a business too. You have to consider where the fans are coming at, and you have to take Maple Leaf fans out last night. And if the roles were reversed, you'd take Golden Knight fans out. If your player gets hit, you're going to be emotional about it. But I think in general, fans love the physicality of the sport, and they love celebrating the physicality of the sport. I think a lot of fans love fighting in the game and celebrating what comes with fights still in the game. But what bothers fans, and this is what the league has got to figure out in conjunction with the Players Association, is consistency and clarification. Why is one hit penalized and another isn't? There's other elements of the rule book where this applies as well. I would say goaltender interference is at the forefront of that. I think it infuriates fans when they have no idea why something gets called certain ways. So I think what the league and the association, the Players Association, could take out of what we saw last night in Toronto with Whitecloud's hit on Knies is you need to clarify, you need to make sure you acknowledge to your fans exactly how these type of processes play out.
And it's a slippery slope. Like, if you want to get to the point in this league where you say that all head contact is going to be considered illegal, then you have to say bye to fighting. Like, fighting will no longer exist in the NHL because you can't have a situation where head contact is going to be illegal and then you're going to allow players to fight each other and strike each other in the head. So you can't have one without the other. If one goes, the other goes, and that changes the whole fabric of the NHL forever.
That is a definite slippery slope. All right, let's zero in on the Leafs now for a second. Knies is now the 7th Leafs forward currently out of their lineup. Coaches and GMs are always saying, hey, listen, injuries create opportunities. If that's true, who in the Leafs organization has now got the biggest opportunity to step up and show what he can do while the regulars are out? Hayes?
Well, there's a few players. One has been a regular the whole time, and that's Nick Robertson. He has got to take advantage of this. We know what happened with Nick Robertson and the Leafs over the course of the offseason. Reports are out there. Robertson wanted to move on. Robertson and Sheldon Keefe weren't on the same page. Well, Craig Berube has given him ample opportunity. He continues to play, and he's not supplying offense. Austin Matthews is out. We don't know how long Knies will be out, how long Domi will be out. Those are big minutes and big opportunities for guys that play on the first power play and the second power play. Nick Robertson, I believe, has the next 3 to 5 games to prove he can play in the NHL. Not just for the Leafs. You can play permanently in the NHL. I think it's a massive opportunity, and if he doesn't seize it, he's in big trouble. I'll also put a different spin on this. I think Brad Treliving actually sets up to benefit the best on this, and that's the GM, who's not actually playing Gino. But he can see what he has. What is Fraser Minton? Is he ready? What is Nikita Grabenkin? Is he ready to possibly play in the NHL? And if they are ready to play in the NHL, it doesn't necessarily mean they play for the Leafs. The trade deadline will be around the corner. Do these guys boost their value and they become trade pieces for better players, more in-depth players, more offensively inclined players, more veteran players who can help them win right now that they're in the window? I think this is a really beneficial period. Although Brad Treliving clearly would prefer to avoid it. You want Matthews playing, you want Knies playing, you want Domi, etc. But this is your reality. If you're the GM, you can get NHL tape on guys in your organization, so you can use them in the future or you can trade them in the future. I think it could really benefit the GM.
And for me, the guys that stand to benefit the most are the new guys. Like Brian said, there's a number of guys that have been given opportunities that are regulars on this team already. We're talking about guys like Nick Robertson, Pontus Holmberg, David Kampf. Like, we kind of know what those guys are already, and they haven't been shortchanged on opportunities and ice time, especially this year with Craig Berube, who wants to use more of a full bench. So for me, it's the new guys. It's someone like Fraser Minton, who in the long run, you're going to see, is he your typical identity line, third line centerman? Does he fill that role in the long run for your organization? Does a guy like Grabenkin, who comes up and he, kind of steals the show a little bit with some of the things that he said post-game about the back check, the forecheck, the paycheck. He's a very likable guy, but, is he likable to the roster? Like, can he help do something that comes more cost efficiently than going out and acquiring that in unrestricted free agency, which is something the Leafs have had to do a lot over the last couple seasons because they haven't had that type of player coming up from the minors. So for me, it's not necessarily a short-term play on the new guys, but it's a long-term play on what can these guys do for my organization and how can they fill the void so that we don't have to go out and acquire and find these pieces, and now we're more cost-effective in doing so.
Guys, let's face it, the Leafs are not happy about missing so many guys up front, but they've got no shortage of players that are just chomping at the bit for more ice time, and they could come cheap. With all the bodies out up front, the Leafs' current roster has 6 different forwards making under $1 million.